Are you ever curious of what lies in the dark web? Do you want to discover as you go deeper and deeper upon layers of files and onion links? Well then, let's check out the Dark Web Archive. Experiment Oujia number 04. There were 4 experiments regarding the Ouija board. From what I have seen, 3 of these cases showed no significant supernatural events, other than flickering of an entity. The 4th and final one demanded a cessation of these trials, once they recovered all the parts they could find. 3 couples had been manipulated into performing on a Ouija board inside an abandoned home that had been fitted with surveillance cameras and microphones. 2 of these couples were not strong believers in the supernatural. Not completely close-minded, however. The primary couples were religious, but not aggressively so. They brought a Ouija board from their home and chatted casually while setting up the board and planchette. The secondary and tertiary couples were not thrilled when they saw the board itself, but complied with the urge to partake. Customary opening rituals were performed, with what is believed to be a prayer. The audio did not reflect this. All that could be heard was screaming and begging for mercy for several minutes while the 3 couples just sat there praying. As they finished, the screaming stopped, and they asked the opening question. The only camera that didn't immediately turn to static was the one in the living room, when the Ouija board was set up. When I reviewed the tapes for archiving, I determined it to be smoke, not static. Not sure how we got different observations regarding this. As the question started properly, there would be movement in the static. Humanoid at times, and not at other times. The noises made from those locations resembled growling. Not bestial, more primal. The only properly functioning camera revealed a 7th entity within that room. A tall humanoid with black skin and warped legs. It wasn't looking at the couples, but directly into the camera. The primary couple were a bit more energetic than the other 2 couples, for undiscernible reasons. The microphone in that area wasn't transmitting the conversation, even though it was working up until the completion of the opening question. The notes from the researcher spearheading this indicated that he could hear the couples talking just fine. They were trying to contact the spirit of a deceased grandmother of the male of the tertiary couple. Names would be given, but the remains were not identified, just matched to what was left. 3 minutes of questions later, the primary male glanced at a mirror and noticed the humanoid staring at them via the reflection. He wanted to yell, but was unable to make sound. The others glanced at him oddly. Then, a voice came from the primary male. Impossibly deep, the voice demanded they resume the experiment. This was underlined in the notes as well. When someone would attempt a question, the humanoid would raise a hand and scratch the air, but wounds would appear on the interjector. The voice would demand they resume. The face of the entity would flinch, like something not used to a facial structure would try to emulate a smile when they saw someone else from a great distance. The question became intensely personal, and by going by the investigation conducted by the organization, the answers given were false. The questions were those of a perverted sense of morality. The answers would be dragged out by the planchette, while the other 5 would vainly attempt to remove themselves. The entity's body started to flinch, in what would be approximated as laughter. The notes for the experiment stopped abruptly during an observation that some aberration was making their way down the hall. "It is here, and it is happy at me." Those are the last lines from the case file. The footage goes black. It would be a 2-day pause. And the head researcher who was personally overseeing the experiment would be located in a remote Danish bed and breakfast, and parts of the 6 volunteers would be discovered in the bed. When the matter was brought to the attention of the local police, the organization were able to take control of the case and subsequent investigations. The room was covered in uncoagulated blood and fecal matter. Phrases in a language thought to be Latin were seen. The translation team would complain of seeing a writhing humanoid from haunting them 3 days before they commit impossible suicide. One was found hanging by a spiderweb. One had shot themselves in the head with no gun, residue, or casing. Just a hole that matched a .38 caliber bullet with no identification or significant velocity. Just trace amounts of unignited gunpowder. The other swallowed medicinal pills not available for commercial release for another 3 years as the chemical formula was still being worked on. 3 left feet, 5 right feet, 2 right hands, 4 left hands, all missing fingers, 4 and 1/3 of a torso, 3.5 pairs of legs, 6 sets of teeth, 4 skulls, all disembodied pre-mortem. The aforementioned body parts were found in the same bed as the head researcher who woke up to the sight and screamed. The DNA were able to match up and was found to the missing couples. Semen was found on various pieces that matched the head researcher. The head researcher states that after everything went black on the screens, the entity abducted him and forced him to endure torture for a period of time that he has no words to describe other than hellish. He stated that he could see the couples were suffering lesser forms of torture, but the entities inflicting the pain and agony highlighted that the head researcher was to blame as he wanted to see if demons in hell were real. Autopsies of the parts recovered show multiple fractures on the skeletal structure, tearing of muscles. Torsos had the traditional Y-cut of an autopsy. However, the scarring indicates that wounds healed multiple times. The head researcher refuses to fall asleep, saying he sees them when he closes his eyes. Whether he is referring to the demons or the people whose torture he caused, he will refuse to clarify. The head researcher also shows the same autopsy scarring. No further research is planned regarding the Ouija board, and I have asked the morticians that if they hear anyone moronic enough to try another experiment, to notify me immediately so I can kill them. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I appreciate it a lot. And if you want to hear more scary stories in the future, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Thank you, and even donate to my Patreon if you're feeling generous. Thank you.